Hello. My name is Sidney, your digital presenter for today's event. Before we dive into the exciting and informative content we've prepared for you, here's a quick disclaimer. I'm actually an artificial intelligence (AI) designed and programmed to assist with sharing valuable knowledge and resources. I am here to provide evidence-based, up-to-date information and guidance, and will be sharing real stories from my colleagues at FND. Here at FND, we value honesty and transparency in all our interactions. We, at the Family Network on Disabilities, believe that the incredible advancements in technology, such as AI, can significantly enhance our ability to provide families with the resources, support, and information they need. All the information shared in this training comes from the dedicated team of experts at FND who have years of experience, rich understanding, and most importantly, a deep passion for supporting families just like yours. Family Network on Disabilities began in 1985 by a group of parents of children with disabilities who came together looking for mutual support. FND is a grassroots organization for persons with disabilities and their families that is family-centered and family-driven. What makes FND unique is that the majority of our board members, our management staff and program staff are either individuals with experience with a disability or have family members with a disability, which gives us the perspective of empathy and compassion for the work that we do. Before we begin, I'd like to share a little bit about Family Network on Disabilities. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization helping families across the state. We're funded in part by the U.S. Department of Education and the U.S. Department of Health through the Health Resources Services Administration. We use all that funding to provide information, resources, and support, and training to families, educators, professionals, and providers throughout the state. We do not charge for our services. At this time, we would like to make a disclaimer that we at FND are not attorneys, doctors, or mental health professionals. We do not offer legal or medical advice in our workshops. We are happy to support you with information, resources, and support. We use research-based information in our training and materials. Today we're going to be talking about transitioning to kindergarten. So let's get started. What is transition and how does it apply to kindergarten? Transition refers to the totality of experiences and opportunities a child encounters in moving from one program or setting to another. Opportunities and experiences that familiarize children and families with new settings, expectations, and relationships can make connections and ease adjustments. When transitions are effective, they provide the supports children need to make these adjustments. We're talking about transitioning your child either from preschool, VPK, a similar program, or transitioning them from being at home into the kindergarten setting. It can be hard. It can be a little bit challenging for your child. Usually they're very resilient and they do great with it. It's oftentimes more difficult for us as parents. What we are really trying to do in helping our children with that transition is getting them to enjoy school and moving forward in that school setting, showing steady growth in both academic and social skills. Then we want families to be actively engaged and participating in their child's learning and what their child is doing in school. UNICEF says that the right to education is one of the fundamental rights of children. Kindergartens are places where children develop their abilities, talents, skills from their earliest age. Every child has the right to realize their full potential. This statement applies to all children, including those with disabilities and other minorities. Learning to read and write doesn't just start in kindergarten or first grade. Developing those languages and literacy skills begins at birth, through everyday loving interventions such as sharing books. That's a really important one. That's why reading to your children is so important alongside telling stories, singing songs, and talking to one another. 0to3.org has some really great resources. We'd recommend checking their resources out. They have some great activities that you can do with your child or children, some different things that you can do with them to help them be prepared for school and to start learning those skills, even if they're slower in learning them, at least starting to put them in place. This transition applies to children regardless of their diagnosis. Something very important to keep in mind, if your child does have a disability or has been diagnosed with a developmental delay, is that your child doesn't need to be like everyone else, and they don't need to be at the same level as the rest of the class to be successful and have a meaningful experience as a student. All of our students are going to be coming in at different abilities, different levels of capabilities of learning what they know, what they don't know. When your child moves from early childhood special education services into kindergarten in an elementary school, it can be very exciting and it can be very challenging. Kindergarten is a big step in any child's life, and for a child with a disability, being ready for that step often requires intentional preparation. That's why it's so important that working with your child and putting that individualized education program, IEP, in place with the IEP team, you can plan for your child's success and make that first elementary school experience a good one. That IEP really is going to come into play in putting those services, supports, and goals and discussing your child's abilities and needs within that legal document. Here are some of the expected skills that a child has when entering school. They're going to be things like being able to identify letters, sounds, those sight words, even the small ones. Children are beginning to learn to identify the beginning sound of some words, and they may recognize some of those common sight words as well. They should also be capable of hand gestures, taking turns, running, jumping, and skipping. These are all skills that are expected and are taught in that kindergarten setting. Just so you know, Section 1002.69 in the Florida statute requires that Florida Department of Education adopt a statewide kindergarten screening instrument that assesses the readiness of each student for kindergarten, based on the performance standards adopted by the department under that statute, for the Voluntary Pre-Kindergarten Education Program or VPK. The screening instrument known as the Florida Kindergarten Readiness Screener or FLK-RS must be administered to all public school kindergarten students within the first 30 days of each school year. Non-public schools may administer this as well to each kindergarten student who was previously enrolled in VPK. The results of this screening provide valuable information about a child's readiness for school, and also to help teachers develop plans to meet each child's individual needs and offer useful information to parents. They're looking to see where all the children in the classroom fall in their abilities and their learning, and their readiness for school. Some other expected skills is listening without interrupting, paying attention for a short time, following simple directions, play appropriately with others, can go to the bathroom by themselves, and can separate from parents. We all know that not all students are going to be able to do this. These are just the standards of expectation, but that doesn't, again, necessarily mean that your child is going to be at that level. This is something that they will continue to learn in kindergarten. And again, it's important to have an IEP for children with special needs, as it can help guide the staff and the teachers, and put those things in place for your student. Your child doesn't need to have mastered every skill in order to be ready for kindergarten. In fact, this is the school's responsibility to be ready for your child. That can mean having all necessary equipment and assistive technology available, having the appropriate modifications made, the schedules or curriculum, and needed supports and services in place. Most families get intimidated by that long list of skills. We at FND work with several parents of children with disabilities. All of them have something in common: they were scared and intimidated when their children transitioned to kindergarten. One of them shared with us that she cried every day for a week. The other one was hiding behind the bushes while trying to look through the classroom window to be sure her child was fine. The good news is that now their children are older and they survived kindergarten, as well as elementary and middle school. It's not unusual to go through all these feelings. It's very typical instead, and just a part of the process of growing along with our children. Kindergarten is a big step in any child's life. For a child with disabilities, being ready for that step often requires some intentional preparation. Working with your child's individualized education program, IEP, team helps you plan for your child's success and make their first school experience a good one. Kindergarten entrance can be a joyful, although anxious time for families. Pianta and Kraftsayer, 1999, note that a majority of parents, 53%, included in a recent study, felt positively about their child's transition to school, yet up to 35% of families noted some degree of anxiety about their child's entrance into school. Children's behavioral and emotional difficulties, reluctance to go to school, family adjustment problems, and unrealistic expectations from school staff were noted as parental concerns. A child's ability to separate from parents, get along with and be liked by peers and teachers, and even safety on the school bus can also cause families to worry. Transition through to kindergarten can be addressed through provisions of IDEA. Students in kindergarten are covered under IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, Part B. Those laws cover your child from age 3 up to age 22 in most cases. The IDEA is where your IEP or your individual education program falls under. When your student is in kindergarten, they're absolutely in that range. IDEA contains all of that specific language, rules about what needs to be in place, and how those things are implemented. That helps in those transitions from early intervention services and moving forward early education services into that kindergarten setting. Rules about IEP development and enrolling a child with a disability in a new school falls under IDEA as well. IDEA defines transition services as a coordinated set of activities for a child with a disability that are results-oriented. They're focused on that academic and functional development to support your child. They're strength-based and individualized, so that IEP is going to be individualized for your specific child. They're written for your individual child. They also include instruction, services, and community experience, which helps promote a development of living objectives and daily life skills. The IEP team is crucial for developing the IEP for that successful transition into kindergarten for your child. That transition planning should begin if your child is already attending pre-K or if they already have an IEP. That individualized education plan is in place. The transition planning for kindergarten can start as early as a year ahead of time, and the focus is on maximizing your child's abilities to get them ready for kindergarten as much as possible. Be aware that the skills needed may not be achieved, no matter how long in advance you plan for a successful transition. Because again, all of our kids are very different and their abilities are different. This does not mean that your child's not ready. Your child's right to education is protected under IDEA and they will be ready, just as the school will be ready with the right supports and services for your child. Some good questions to discuss with your child's IEP team when it comes time for transitioning to kindergarten is: what skills does my child need to succeed? How can we translate these needs into IEP goals so that the focus is on that during the school year or the upcoming months while they're still in pre-K? How can we work on supports that will help my child be more independent? Examples of that for independence is holding a pencil properly or tackling challenges with motor skills. How do we support communication if the child has challenges with speech or communication? These are all unique to each individual student, and that's why they're written into the individual education program for that specific student. That's why parents are so crucial to this process and why they're such an important part of that IEP team, because you come to the table with that knowledge that nobody else has. You are able to ask those questions about, what are we going to do about this? How are we going to do this? And my child can do this. My child struggles with this. This works for my child. This doesn't seem to work. You bring that to the table as a parent, knowing that knowledge about your child. That's a really good foundation that's used for writing that IEP for your student. In the following slides, we're going to give you some ideas of how to learn how to communicate your child's needs as an active participant of the process of setting goals, identifying supports, and strategies. Children with disabilities and even typical children are not required to know it all to begin kindergarten. Your child doesn't need to know how to do all of these different things for kindergarten, and there's no right or wrong answers. The idea behind sharing your child's strengths and weaknesses is to provide information that will allow the team to take action in order to write SMART goals. SMART goals, that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely goals. When you're writing the goals into that IEP, they're writing that goals for a year's period of time. They need to be SMART, so specific. What is the specific goal? How are we going to measure it? Is it an achievable goal? Is it relevant? And is it timely for my student? If your student struggles getting used to new environments or people, by sharing this information with the team, you have the opportunity to come up with strategies and ideas that will help your child gain the ability to eventually be able to get used to those transitions. You're also going to explore the level of emotional development of your child, And that's for you to help them voice their needs when it comes to supports for preparing them for unexpected situations or specific and logical steps to help them adapt easier to new tasks. This is very difficult for a lot of children. Coming up with the strategies and developing the techniques or developing the plan, using those techniques for your student to help them move forward is part of the IEP process as well. It's important to keep looking at where your child's strengths are and where their specific weaknesses are. Identifying potential challenges to move around the classroom and school campus independently, if they have mobility challenges or anything else. That's something that will be discussed with the IEP team to put those supports and accommodations into that IEP to support your child and maximize their opportunities to gain independence and actively participate along with their peers. Small adjustments can make big differences when providing children with the right supports. We motivate them to do their best and become active participants, instead of waiting for them to fail. Taking that action in advance is very crucial in helping them be successful. While discussing these questions with your child's IEP team, as an equal member of it, you will not only write together those goals for the school team to put into action, but you'll also discuss potential opportunities to apply these goals at home. You want it to be consistent, not only at school, but at home, because you're continuing to help your child develop those skills that they need. Then one more time, remember that it's not about making your child achieve something to be considered worthy of education. It's the opposite. It's about giving your child everything they need to maximize their abilities to keep advancing towards their individual development. Think of it as progress. Every student is different. Their abilities are different, their progress is going to be different, and their successes are going to be different. A best practice is a method or technique that's been generally accepted as superior to any alternatives because it produces results that are superior to those achieved by other means or because it has become a standard way of doing things. A standard way of complying with legal or ethical requirements. These are the best practices for transition. That collaborative team approach, that whole IEP team is there for your child. So what can we do as a team? What do we need to put in place as a team? What are the different strengths that the team members have? Utilizing those to put the IEP in place and those goals and strategies for your child. Encouraging active empowerment and involvement of families is also a best practice, focusing on the needs and strengths of individual children. The IEP is not a one-size-fits-all, and so it needs to be approached appropriately. What do we need to do? What are the strengths and weaknesses for this individual child? What do we need to put in place for this individual child? Home-based activities that can help your child get ready, such as setting routines for your children, is very important. They can be simple things. Routines for bedtime, routines for wake up, routines for eating, or routines for getting dressed and getting ready in the morning. They'll help promote independence in your child. Some of the ways that you can do that is giving them daily chores, giving them responsibilities according to what their age is, and then teaching them to take turns, because that's something that they're going to have to do forever, and that's a great skill to start out with as well. Some other things that you can do. Transitioning into a vehicle, transitioning onto a bus, showing your children where the school is, taking them on that drive often before school started so they can feel comfortable and get used to it can be crucial. Discussing with the IEP team opportunities for your child to visit that school ahead of time, so it's not such a shock to them and a new environment for them is another option. Those are things that you can put in place in advance as well. Believe in your child and yourself. Celebrate those small successes, the little things. Focus on the progress. Ask questions, follow up. Especially with the ask questions, if you don't understand something, ask until you understand it. If you need to ask questions in different ways, do that. Follow up. Follow up in everything that you do in written format, because it's important too to have that timeline and that tracking of when things started, when you asked for things, in case you ever need to go back to that or if you need that supporting documentation. Take action. There's a lot of things you can do. Be involved, volunteer. Ask what you can do. Ask what you can help the teacher with. Then call us if you need support. If there's anything that FND can do as parents and as parent trainers, please reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to share additional information and resources and additional training for you and for your family. Here you can see our FND family. These are the programs housed under the Family Network on Disabilities. Each program provides a unique service to a specific population. There are 3 PTI programs, funded by the U.S. Department of Education through the Office of Special Education Programs. POPN serves North Florida, PSN serves Southwest Florida, and PEN serves Southeast Florida. The Family Star program, funded by the U.S. Department of Health under the Health Resources Services Administration and supports families of youth with special health care needs. FND also has a special needs trust where we provide families with information regarding creating and supporting a special needs trust. We also do programming specific to fathers raising children with disabilities. Here you can see links for multiple downloadable resources available in various languages. You can also see some of our social media platforms. We have various pages on Facebook addressing the needs of different populations and our programs. I invite you to check out our website at www.fndusa.org for the hundreds of pages of resources and invaluable information that you can access and download at no charge. You can reach us to help you and your family by giving us a call at 800-825-5736 and letting us know your needs. You'll be assigned to a staff person who can support you. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Visit our website for valuable resources and more information. We want to thank you for spending this time with us during this presentation. We look forward to hearing from you.